Hey, it's Chris. Top 10 crowdfunding games, second half of 2023, right? This is an exciting list, and I'm going to have stuff on here that you've heard of, and I guarantee I'm going to have a couple games on here that you haven't heard of that you're going to go, Board Game Geek, wishlist, click, thank you, Chris. Right? As always, tell them Liege sent you. Anyway, apart from that, awesome list. Super excited about this one. This list, though, is about potential. Check out my other video, top 10 coming to retail of things that I think are going to be just, we already know what their potential is. High. These, though, high ceiling, maybe a little bit lower basement, potentially, depending on the campaign, depending on the actual mechanics, depending on a lot of other factors when it comes into it when you're weighing it. That being said, though, let's go. So, first up, honorable mention. This one's actually running currently. No, it's not Cyclades, right? No, it's not one of the other big ones. It's actually the Glades. The Glades from R&D Games. This is just a fantastic looking tile laying matching set collection-esque game where you've got your board and the inside board, and you have to get set collections of, matching characteristics on these tiles to lay them down. There's at least 3 that you have to lay down. There's a 4th one. However, the 4th one is going to be potentially grabbed by someone else. There's going to be a spot in the center. Depending on how you can get the spots in the center, depends on the victory points. I think this looks like a differently mechanistic approach to like Renature. I think this looks like another great under the radar nature themed game like Earth and Renature. I think those games are fantastic. Those are never leave your collection games, and I think this one has the high potential. Now, R&D Games, though, as a crowdfunding campaign that's currently running, there's not a whole lot of incentive to get it on crowdfunding. That's probably why it's the honorable mention and not a get it now, to be frank with you. In the same regard, you should have backed Waypoints, which just ended from Postmark Games. That actually is a really good, honorable mention right now because you can go late back it. $5 print and play, probably the best value Kickstarter crowdfunding situation game type that you'll ever get. So there, 2 honorable mentions, getting twice your value out of this video. Number 10, Defenders of the Wild, not Defenders of the Realm. We'll talk about that later. Defenders of the Wild, from the publishers who just did the recently revised Block by Block 3rd edition. This is taking a different spin. Basically, think of Block by Block, if you're familiar with this, where you have a block system and you're taking a cooperative approach to resistance? Rioting, if you will. But this, now imagine it is instead of that was a little too close to home for some people thematically. This takes a different spin as woodland creatures revolting against mechs and robotic overlords, essentially, with asymmetric factions, characters, and animals at your disposal with unique actions based on the cards that you're going to acquire. Now you're interested though, right? An easier to get to play route only as a cooperative game? Yeah, that's why it's number 10. Number 9. Number 9 is a sequel in the spiritual succession line of Duel of Ages 2. This one, though, is called Worldspanner Factions. And this one is going to be coming to crowdfunding sometime this fall. And we're going to see 2 to 8 players, teams cooperatively, taking your heroes, crazy abilities, take that head to head, smash them up over the, head with weapons, gadgets, and gizmos galore. Crazy insaneness of Duel of Ages 2, which is out of reprint with some of the masters and the deluxe sets. And it's an experience in storytelling from a Ameritrash side of games. And I can't wait to see what it's going to look like, how much they're going to bring to us, how much craziness of it. The real question, just like I said at the beginning, though, does it hold up? Does this game hold up? Can you make a game that is still a little bit more mechanistically deep with some of the same overhead, the same potential, the same that made the original, in that sense, such a unique, enjoyable experience? Sort of like, I'll say, what Restoration Games did with Star Wars Duels into Unmatched. That's the comparison I'm going to make there. That's why I think it could potentially work. So we're going to see what comes of that. Now, number 8, the first one on the list from them, Awaken Realms, Dragon Eclipse. No idea what to expect with this one. Awaken Realms' projects are always, grab your popcorn, grab your buckets, and see where you fall, right? Guaranteed moneymaker if you buy the core pledge and resell it. However, this is their spin, it appears, at least on surface value, 1 to 2 players of Pokemon, right? Only in this case, obviously, dragons, mythological creatures, and a little bit of everything else is going to go along with it. With, you know, a capturing system of fantastic proportions. Majestic, unique creatures you can battle, tame, catch, and train. Each creature has a unique deck of cards you can use in combat and special abilities, offering endless tactical combats or capabilities to master. That's all we know. It's only 2 players, though. Head-to-head dueling. We just saw the Robomon last year. Previewed that myself personally. Closest thing to Pokemon that's out there, but huge narrative book that went along with it. Now, throw away the narrative book, give you a Pokemon system with combinations. Now, again, how do you go head-to-head with this, or is it going to be truly cooperative? It doesn't really give us any details at all yet. And so I could see it being either. I think it's probably going to be both. You go out there, you capture together, but you can also battle together and just go head-to-head, giving you a little bit of whatever you want. You want an open-world campaign-style Pokemon Go game? Great. You want just the Pokemon where you go online and you fight your opponents based on what they've captured in their individual game? That's how I see this playing out. But with so many other 2-player head-to-head dueling asymmetric games that are out there in the market with the established pedigrees, like I've got a bag of Summoner Wars, the 2 latest expansions sitting right behind the camera here on the table. How do you compete? Is it actually going to be that good? Because I don't need miniatures with this. What are we going to see with Awaken Realms? Because that's also their MO of also, in a good way, splitting out the miniatures from the gameplay. But how many creatures, how many miniatures, how much price point? That's going to be the creep question you have to ask. Number 7 here, staying over on GameFound. I'm assuming because their last project is in the process of fulfilling on GameFound. They've actually polled and surveyed people following the campaign still. We're seeing from Creative Game Studios, the people behind Chronicles of Drunagor, they're giving us Dante's Inferno, essentially, the board game. Dante's Invasion of Hell, I think is what they're calling it right now, something along those lines. They just pulled, again, backers and interested parties on what they, should call it. And so what we're going to see is a reimagining of Dante's Inferno, right? The 7 layers of hell, the 7 sins, those aspects of things. Sort of like I almost imagined what the Others was going to be originally from CMON. Secret CMON project also on this list. Spoilers. But that's going to be the question. How do you dive into this narrative, also campaign, also dungeon crawl-esque style game while going off of the back of Chronicles of Drunagor with the great action system that they developed there, the great overworld system, and just, an actual great mechanical combating dungeon crawl. So you're hot off the heels of that one being hopefully delivered before this one launches, is my guess. Sort of to ride the coattails in a good way, striking while the iron is hot. So we'll see. But again, actual gameplay mechanic details, nothing's known at this point. Number 6. This is probably the one you haven't heard of on the list. If you're paying close attention, though, you've already heard me mention it once or twice on the channel. This is Old King's Crown. This was one of the standout games that got a lot of attention over at the UK Games Expo earlier in the year. This is a combination of sort of area control, asymmetric actions depending on locations in combination with like Oriflamme, where you've got the cards, right? Where you're flipping them face up and a little bit of bluffing, a little bit of tactical maneuvering and manipulating in order to get your way to be the one with the crown at the end of the game. In a different way, instead of lining them up like you do in Oriflamme, you're placing them to the different locations on the board, causing different clashes, battles, and objectives to be achieved. And so when you have a set number of influence, you need to retain that influence until the end of the round and you win. A lot of hands-on playtesting, crowdfunding later this year. Really, really excited to see what they can bring to the table with this one. And I guess the real question with this one is, again, why Kickstarter? Why crowdfunding in general? Why whatever GameFound Kickstarter they're going to use? I don't know, I just said that as the adjective there, not actually because it's on Kickstarter, but you know where I'm going with that. So that's going to be another interesting test of where's the exclusivity? What's the reasoning behind it? What's the price point? There you go. And number 5, Call of Duty from Arcane Wonders. We're going to see where this one goes. And now I'm making this assumption. There's not really a whole lot of details. There's a couple playthroughs on Board Game Geek, but there's no confirmation, at least there, that this is going to be crowdfunded. But I'm assuming that this is going to be crowdfunded until proven otherwise. Hopefully, though, it's not a lot of FOMO like Six Siege. Oh, sorry, couldn't resist myself there. Speaking of that, have you got those? Hey friend, my friend. Have you gotten those emails? Anyway, whole nother topic of conversation. But this is going to be the question. Are they saying they're doing more of a first-person shooter-esque, sort of like a little bit of a Sniper Elite style, that board game that crowdfunded as well last year? A little bit of hidden movement. People are hammering or clamoring for a solo mode campaign. What is it? What is it going to be? How are you going to first-person shoot? Adrenaline is the only other board game that really does a first-person shooter-style game in the first place, like Call of Duty is as a video game. Are you going to try and stay true to that? Are you going to go more of the Apex Legends style, Six Siege style of mechanical team-based approach? Like, what is it going to look like? And again, you can check out the playthroughs of Board Game Geek, but there's going to be board-based hidden movement style action. So is that going to be better for you? Is it going to be worse for you than, say, some of the other stuff? Those are the other two games that they're going to be compared head-to-head to, I would say right now, just based on IP similarities as well as just contextualized. But again, the question is, with a game like this, how different is it than the video game? And is that going to be attracting or detracting, depending on how you feel about those things in the first place? So next up, number 4, Beast. Beast, one of my best games of crowdfunding of 2022. It's coming back to GameFound. It's giving us more stuff. It's giving us more stuff. It's giving us more mechanics. It's going to be a great expansion. I'm really pumped about it. We're just going to kind of see all of what it entails. The new expansion is called Shattered Isles. If you go over to GameFound, already, really at the time of me filming this, 12,000 people following that. That's insane. Now, some people really like it. Some people don't really like it. It's, hidden movement-esque. Don't always have to be as focused on the hidden movement, as opposed to essentially it's a one versus all monster versus hunter style of things with asymmetric monsters, asymmetric hunters, and asymmetric objectives of what you're each going for. Player count varies and gives you different map layouts depending on how many players are there. So a lot going on there. Runs a little long-ish. Sometimes you can get dragged out a little bit too, if depending on how things go. But overall, very unique experience. Absolutely fun. For my group, at least. So we'll kind of see what Shattered Isles also brings and what it looks like finally when it comes to crowdfunding. But yeah, it's a reason it's number 4 on this list. Number three, in case you missed it, I almost missed it. There was no wide announcement that I saw. Didn't get picked up by Board Game Geek initially, didn't get picked up by Reddit. Mordred from CMON here at number 3. They just kind of put out this news blurb on their own website on the very last day of June, and they said, hey, Arthurian Legends, we're going with an area control style King Arthur game with dark fantasy. How does that sound to you, right? They're going back to the area control aspects of things. Your Blood Rages, your Rising Suns, your Ankhs, and now Mordred. I mean, that's a big pedigree to follow. And, I mean, you're going to have a lot of Arthurian lore to utilize. And to be frank, it's an underutilized theme overall. So I'm excited to see what they can do. And I'm excited to see it's not another zombie side because, again, I'd easily pass that one. I'm glad to see it's not another Insert United. I mean, Marvel United. It's not going to be Marvel United, but, just had this conversation with someone else, hint, hint, wink, wink, spoiler, spoiler for future videos, about how anything in that line of Marvel United with a different IP is going to be also hard, terribly hard for me to resist at some point, too, no matter what it is. And so we're going to see what else they have in store for us. Again, details, incredibly sparse. One news blog post at the time of me filming this. No Board Game Geek entry either. How much FOMO, how many miniatures can you get with this one? I'd love to see them go a little more Awaken Realms, but they're going to CMON. So there you go. That's why it's number 3. Because, right? High ceiling. Something different. Show me a new system. Number 2. I talked about it. I mentioned it. I alluded it already. Awaken Realms' other project before the end of the year. Nemesis Retaliation. I've got Lockdown. I had the original. I'm just not sure either are a great fit. And that's sort of where Retaliation comes in, right? The next one's going to be better for me, guys. So I'm going to get that one. At least that's where my head is at. But my heart, hopefully, is going to try and avoid it, just like my wallet. But again, with Awaken Realms, with a known property, a known IP of Nemesis for them, the third time's the charm, the Ankh of Nemesis, if you will, has the highest potential out of all of them. Why is that, you say? Details incredibly sparse at this point. But we're seeing from the description, more combat, more fight, more tools, more weapons. New experience, similar IP. Right? You want Nemesis the dungeon crawl? That's kind of what this is looking like, right? Nemesis, the Cthulhu Death May Die experience. That's what it gives me vibes of. It's obviously not going to be that, but what shades of that can you show me? Because again, best miniatures on the market, plus a little bit of Nemesis, known quantity, known product. It's going to be a hard thing to resist. That's probably, well, one of the hardest to resist on the list for me overall at this point. So what beat that out? A remake of Defenders of the Realm. Defenders of the Realm Legends Retold from Greater Than Games. Fresh take on this fantasy cooperative card-based classic. Heroes adventuring together to destroy the forces of darkness. A tale as old as time itself, right? But a new spin on a more unique variable player power, unique asymmetric hero standpoint with just awesome card-driven combat. Was one of the preeminent card-driven games from almost a decade ago that people still kind of love and try to get on the secondary market at times. Okay, you got me. Show me what you can do, Greater Than Games. I trust you with a game like this, especially with some of the other properties you've done. So hopefully, again, high ceiling, but we'll see. The only question again is, why get it? I was not enamored by Greater Than Games' Spirit Island offerings, and the other small detriment here is that it's on BackerKit. There's only 300 people at the time of me filming this following on BackerKit right now, as opposed to, 100 times that right now following Nemesis. So I could easily see this one falling way down the list depending on what they do with it. But the potential and me loving a card-driven combat style-esque game in the lines of your Marvel Champions, even though I know it's nothing like that, folks, that's the potential for it, especially if you give me good deals. This is something that's going to be easier to hit the table, which is why ultimately it's higher than a couple of these on this list right now at this very moment. Obviously subject to change depending on what happens, because I could easily see myself passing on it too. So there you go. 10 games, plus or minus a few. Crowdfunding, hyped about before the end of the year. I love doing this video. I just love talking about board games. I'm not very good at it. You put up with me though, so thank you so much. Stay classy. Have a great freaking fantastic day. See you around. Sub if you want. It'd be super helpful. I'm trying to get to 10K by the end of the year. It's not going to happen, but I'm trying.